Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be talking about a brand new 2019 ranked system that Riot just rolled out the details on, and it's going to be an ongoing process. This is April 25th, 2018, if you're in the future. So this is kind of the first time that Riot has mentioned these changes, and I just saw a video about them on YouTube from Red Mercy out there, great content creator, and I figured I'd add sort of my own perspective on this because I think this is going to be really, really good for the rank system moving forward, and that's what this video is going to be about. So we're going to first talk about kind of the current state of League for maybe the first third or half or so of this video, just talk about what's working, what's not working, why is there this increasing sort of competition from other games like Fortnite, how is League learning from that, and how is League going to change rank to improve it for all levels of play moving forward, anyone from Bronze, you know, all the way up to Challenger. Why is this going to be better? Okay, so we're going to go over kind of the current state of League, then we're going to talk about some core problems for ranked, then we're going to talk about why some of these 2019 proposed changes will solve some of these core problems. So the big things that the changes are going to do, they're going to update the provisional rank for players, they're going to do a ranking by position instead of overall rank, which is going to be fantastic. They're going to have new tiers and ongoing rewards to keep people engaged. Those are the three main things that we're going to discuss in this video. If you don't have time to watch the whole thing, then you can always look at the timestamps in the description, jump to your favorite part. If you just want to, hear about the 2019 changes, that's fine. But I think it is important, if you have time, just a few minutes here to talk about the current state of League, what the problem has been, and then we'll understand why those changes are so awesome. I've been playing since Season 1. My peak rank has been Diamond 5. I've been Platinum 2. I'd say Platinum 2 is probably my average over my entire League career. I usually end up in high Platinum. One season I got to low Diamond. So I'm a fairly high ELO player, like top 3%, but I'm not a Challenger level player. So I have been through all of the ELO brackets over time. I've been around the game for a really long time, and I do a lot of deep level analysis for the channel. So yeah, so let's go ahead and do some deep level analysis and figure out why this is such a good change. Okay, so what is the current state of League of Legends? Why do some people like it? Why do some people not like it? Where do I think it's going to go moving forward? So the pros about League of Legends are numerous, and this does not get talked about enough because it's such a big game and it's been around for so long. But if you look at a lot of other games that have come out, if you look at things like Dota, Overwatch, other MOBAs out there, then League has some of the best systems in place to make it a really enjoyable experience, particularly for people who are interested in competitive gaming. Okay, so what are some of these pros? Well, the first one is there's a massive competitive community and content creators for League of Legends. This is huge. I remember back in like 2013 or 2014, I decided, hey, I might go check out some Dota. And I'm sure that Dota 2 has changed over time, over the years. But one thing that struck me immediately when I was trying to learn how to play the game, there was not nearly as much content. Like, there were a couple of YouTube videos out there about some stuff, but there were not weekly competitive games. There were not leagues like there is in League. There were not just tons and tons of different analyses from different perspectives. There weren't tons of articles and tier lists and rankings and things out there. Sure, once again, it's there. There's stuff, but there's nowhere near the same volume of stuff as there is for League. You can specialize in almost anything and find a content creator that will talk about your one specific champion that you want to focus on. There's somebody out there that does that champion. And so that's a big thing for me, is there's just so much support if you want to talk about stuff, engage with people, become part of all kinds of different League communities. It's unparalleled with other communities. So that was a big thing for me. Another thing that was really important is the dynamic meta. League changes a lot, especially in the last few years. Some people don't like that, but it keeps it very fresh for me. I played a lot of StarCraft 1 back in the day, and I played a lot of Warcraft 3, and it was very fun. It was dynamic. It was interesting. But the meta was very stale by today's standards. And it was fine back then, but looking back, I'm like, man, people were using the same Zerg strategies for years and years. People were doing the same kind of Protoss rush for years. Those units almost never got balanced. They very rarely added any new units. Sometimes they added some new maps. But for the most part, successful strategies stayed successful for a really long time, and that was okay. But one cool thing about League is it changes a lot. Yes, there are some champions that will remain powerful for very long periods of time, much longer than they should be in terms of like a balancing perspective, right? So Caitlyn has been really strong for going on like a year and a half now. She had a little bit of a lull where they nerfed her in the fall, but she's starting to make a resurgence. So there are some champions that are just going to be good. Janna, almost always good as support in solo queue just because of the nature of her kit. So there are some outliers, some people who are some things that are tried and true and work very well for a long period of time. But there's also so much change. Almost every patch, there are just a ton of change that keeps the game fresh, keeps the game fun. Some other content creators that I've seen, because I've watched a lot of other stuff where people compare League to other games, they say that, you know, maybe it's overly complex, it's difficult for people to get into and stay into. You have to be really committed to League to understand all of these changes and the meta shifts and things like that. And that might be true to a certain extent, but that's just the price you pay for keeping a game fresh, right? It's like either you can make it fresh and change stuff around to keep people interested, or you can keep it the same old stale thing where someone who hasn't played in a year can just step right back in and know exactly what to do. But is that really worth it? Is it worth like people that aren't really committed to the game to keep them happy over people that play the game a lot, that are interested, that want the dynamic community? It's a trade-off. But, you know, I think there's a middle ground because, once again, there are so many resources to help people catch up. If you haven't played in a year and you want to get back in, you can find YouTube channels like mine or like other channels out there that can catch you up to speed. All you have to do is just look at it. Just find, you can find the content, right? You can look at patch notes. You can look at different analyses. So really, it's just, if it stayed stale, if it didn't change all the time, it's really just affecting people that are not competitive. They're casual. They don't want to do research. They don't want to figure out sort of what's good right now. You could figure out, you know, just 20 minutes of videos. You could figure out what's strong right now and what you should do on it. You know, you could go to like pro builds and figure out your build and your runes immediately, at least at a basic level. So I think that overall the dynamic meta keeps it very, very cool, as opposed to some other competitive games where you'll see the same thing over and over and over again. Because that's just what works, and the meta is not as dynamic. Diverse tactics and win conditions. So this is another major thing. You can win in League of Legends by running like an assassination comp. You can run a siege comp. You can run a team fight comp. You can have all kinds of different combos between different characters. You can win off of dragons. You can win off of barons. So there are just all kinds of dynamic ways and things that objectives that your team can go for. Whereas some other competitive games, maybe there's one objective. You're trying to do one thing. So in Overwatch, for example, you're trying to defend this point, or you're trying to push the payload, or whatever. Now, I'm not like super well versed on the Overwatch competitive meta, but I've watched it some, and it feels like it's almost the same champions every game, and it's the same type of strategies that people have figured out for defending points or pushing points. Seems like it's pretty solved. Now, they are trying to address that in different ways. This isn't about Overwatch specifically, but I'm just saying that League has a lot of different diverse stuff that keeps a lot of their champions relevant. Now, there are some champions that have had problems for years that I wish would get buffed, sure, but that's going to happen when you have like 150 champions, right, that are everyone's trying to pick the most, you know, powerful champions. And the fact that there are even like, you know, 50 that are pretty competitive at a high level, probably even more than that. If you look at how many were played at Worlds last year, I think it was something like 70. So when you have like half of the champions that are competitive, because when you start thinking at a competitive level, people want the absolute best thing for whatever their comp is. So if there is a champion that does what another champion wants to do even better, so if there is a teamfight tank that does what other teamfight tanks want to do even better, so like, you know, a Braum support versus a Nautilus support, right? They both want to be these kind of tanky, hard crowd control disruptor tanks. Well, Braum's going to do that a lot better than Nautilus most of the time as support, and so Nautilus is just not going to get played a lot in that situation. So even at a high level, if people are trying to gravitate towards the absolute best champions, and you get 70 different champions played at the highest level at Worlds, that's really good. That's really diverse. So I think that it is diverse. Could it be even more so? Sure, it could. But I think that they do a pretty good job on that for the most part, considering how many different you know, layers are at play. Now, as far as dynamic in-game strategy and stats, this is something that I like versus something like Dota. From what I understand, there are 3 different stats. There's agility, strength, and intelligence, I believe. I haven't played it in a long time, but there are basically 3 stats, and that's all you have to worry about, pretty much, right? And just whoever your champion is, you just stack whatever you want, right? Like whatever you need. Okay, it's an intelligence champion. All right, you stack a bunch of intelligence. Okay, it's a you know, I think they may have called it cunning. It's like a cunning champion, which is like agility. You go for cunning. In League, it is much, much more diverse than that. There's a great diversity of items for most roles. Yes, some roles like AD carry, you know, have a relatively straightforward build order, although that is changing a lot more with some of these kind of wacky on-hit builds. You see in like Kaisa running, you know, Ginsu's Gnasher's Tooth, and then other people run crit on Kaisa. They'll go, you know, Essence Reaver. So there are a lot of, it's becoming increasingly diverse over time, but there's so many different stats. You have to think about cooldown reduction, armor, magic resist, AD, ability power, and now they're adding in these different like true damage elements and all these different actives. So there are a lot of different stats that interact with each other in League, and that adds to the extra dynamic nature of it. So stats, lots of abilities with relatively low cooldowns on most champions. You can use them a lot in fights. Items, especially items with actives in the support role, there's a lot more of that. So you have lots of skill expression with things like a redemption, aiming it properly, landing it, using Mikhail's properly to cleanse away crowd control. So there are a lot of dynamic and interesting items that are out there. And the fact that you can even communicate with all sorts of different pings on the fly to shot call better, it's just really great in League, and a lot of other games don't have that. Great in-depth pre-game strategy is another thing that's great about League, right? So you've got the runes, you've got summoners, you have different compositions that are effective. So when you look at something like Dota 2 or even Overwatch, there aren't a lot of, from what I understand, there is not a pre-game, right? Like compositions matter, but there aren't runes that you can sort of pick strategically to figure out how you want to approach the game. There aren't summoners, you know, to add an extra layer of variety to the game. So I think that these are just extra resources that help differentiate players and differentiate rank. And I think that's really cool, and that gives you a lot more agency over how you want to approach the game. Fantastic. Many games don't have that. Position select. This is something that we take for granted in League now. This did not exist until, I think, like Season 5. It's relatively recent, where you can say, okay, I want to play support, and you're going to get support most of the time. Or I want to play jungle, and you'll get jungle most of the time. That didn't used to happen in League. It used to be you just queued up. There were 5 people in a room, and everybody just called out their role. If you called the same role as somebody else, you just kind of argued about it until you figured out who was going to deal with it. Now we have position select, which is great. I know in Overwatch they don't have this. I think they might be adding it recently, but the last time I played with my friends over winter break, a little bit of Overwatch, you don't have that. So one of my buddies was wanting to play this this new support character. I can't remember the name, but he just couldn't ever play her because someone else always took support, and so he had to play his off role all the time. So it's really cool in League that you get your position select. Unique picks, so each team can't have the same champion. In Overwatch, once again, each team can have the same champion, and they often do. If there's a really powerful team comp, especially in competitive, you'll see the same picks over and over again. It's cool that League has that. Individual bans, not all games have that. Reasonable dodge penalties. Now, this is another thing that's cool, is like if you get a team comp that's just not going to work for you, or you have a bunch of people on your team that don't really know what they're doing on their champions, then you can dodge with reasonable penalties. Your first dodge is 3 LP, your second dodge is 10 LP. So the second dodge and beyond, that's about, you're sacrificing half of the LP of the game itself to play it. So you are saving some, possibly, but it's strong enough to where people don't want to spam dodge all the time because you're still losing a significant amount of LP. So I think that that's pretty cool. Reasonable conduct regulation. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree with this, but trolls do eventually get banned. They do get punished. Like, will they get punished immediately in your game? No. Are there ways to game the system? Sure. Of course there are. And it's a free-to-play game. So, you know, some people will just troll just because. That's just the nature of any game where you have 100 million people that play it, which were the last numbers for League of Legends. You have 100 million people that play it. Then you can't regulate everybody. So I think they do a reasonable job of this. But could they do better? Sure. And then relatively low queue times. You know, in most ELOs, you can get a game going in 2 or 3 minutes tops. Okay, so that's all the good stuff about League. League's awesome. It's my favorite game, you know, and a lot of it, and I kind of listed these in order of, like, what's important to me. But, you know, the big stuff, in that it has a very dynamic meta and a very massive competitive community, keeps the game fresh and interesting. Even 8 years later, I still get excited about League. I still have a lot of fun. I'm still learning stuff and trying out different things. And that's pretty crazy if you think about it. A game that's been out that long that can still inspire people, that can still generate lots of thought, lots of critical, engagement to try to figure out what's good. I mean, that's an accomplishment to have that kind of staying power and that kind of freshness. Okay, but let's talk about some cons here real quick in League, and I don't want to go too long on this, but it's worth hitting a little bit. So this is something that I think these 2019 proposed changes are going to address some of these, and Riot has been working on this stuff over time. So the biggest thing for me is weak metrics for agency and skill expression. Now, it was difficult to kind of describe exactly what this means, but pretty much what I'm trying to say here is that it's difficult for people to understand what they're doing wrong. And it's difficult for them to understand how they're going to rank up, because it's very complicated to figure that out. And so what I mean by weak metrics for agency, people don't take responsibility for what they did wrong because they don't realize what they did wrong, because League is a very complex game. So, for example, someone might go 5-0 in lane. They don't push their advantage enough. They don't roam to other lanes. They don't try to threaten the tower. They don't ward properly. They get camped. Whatever the case is, they may start off doing well early and then they lose the game. Or maybe they pick a very early game champion like Pantheon, and the rest of their team doesn't have early game champions that can really snowball with him. They have late scaling champions, and then he goes 7-0 in lane, and then 35 minutes rolls around, and all of a sudden he can't do anything anymore because Janna just saves everybody whenever he tries to engage, right? And then he gets frustrated, and he thinks, this is stupid, I did everything perfectly, I went 7-0 in lane, I have all these dumb teammates. How can I possibly win? It's like, well, instead of just sitting there zoning out the person in your lane, you could have pushed it in and roamed to help out that mid laner, to get that fizz going mid lane. Or you could have teleported bottom to a fight, but instead you took Ignite to pressure your lane. So there are all sorts of considerations that people just don't think about, and they don't want to take responsibility for what they're doing. Now, I don't necessarily think that all these changes are going to fix that entirely, but I do think that some of these will help quite a bit. So that is a major problem, is that people don't understand why they're not ranking up. And a lot of it is because it's higher order thinking. It's more than just, okay, kill your lane, get more CS. A lot of times it's about macro, map rotation, vision, and thinking deeper about team compositions. So that's one of the major issues that has continued to plague League, and that's what has drawn people to Fortnite recently. That's the biggest thing, is because in League, people just say they get tired of having all these bad teammates and just games getting ruined by that one guy who goes like 0-10 top lane. So they just want to go play Fortnite. You just go into a game. You're by yourself. It's just a free-for-all. You're responsible for your own actions. Because when you play Fortnite, you think, okay, I goofed up. I shouldn't have run out in the open, been headshotted like that, or I should have had, this different kind of strategy. I haven't played Fortnite, so I don't know for sure. I've watched it a couple of times. But you can take responsibility for what happened in that game, because, eventually people start complaining about overpowered items and overpowered start positions and things like that. But for the most part, people can take more responsibility in that game. And then whenever they lose, they just start a fresh new game, right? And so it's just like a slot machine. You just get to keep, hitting the slots every time. And people like it, and it's fun for now. I do think that the hype will die down a little bit. I think it'll still have some staying power, but I think ultimately people will ultimately gravitate back to League for these things, because Fortnite does not have these things. Most games do not have all of these things, right? But that is a major thing that has been a problem that League needs to address, is how do you make people feel like they're having a larger impact on the game, and that they have a clear path to improvement. They have worked on this. They gave role select, right? So now, position select. So now you have a much more likely chance of getting your favorite position. That was a way to cut down on that, right? And this also ties with high variance in gameplay. This is my next point, which means that some games just feel extremely lopsided one way or another. And there are a couple reasons for that, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But, one of the big things they've done, it starts with people feeling empowered because they're playing champions they want to play. That's the start of it. And so adding in champion select, or position select rather, helps out with that a ton, because now people can take responsibility and say, okay, I'm on my good champion more often. So it's going to be my fault if I lose, right? Because I'm on my good champion. Whereas if you're auto-filled or you're on a different champion, if you're like, well, I had to play jungle and someone else got top lane, and the top laner feeds, 0 and 10, then it feels like that's more out of your control than if you were top lane and you fed 0 and 10. So I think that they have tried to address this with position select. I think they're going to continue to address this with ranking by position here in just a second, but that leads to high variance, which is a big problem, and a big part of this still is autofill. Now, I have said, and what autofill means is you pick one of your two positions that you want, your primary position, your secondary. Autofill is if you don't get one of those two, you get your third position. But realistically, people often refer to autofill as anything that's not their primary position. Okay? So the problem with this is, especially as you get to higher ELOs, but even in lower ELO, if there's somebody who's autofilled on your team, like let's say they are playing Camille top, and they only have 5 games on Camille top, and they are against a Fiora top who has 1,000 games. That's a platinum level player, for example. That Camille player, there's no way they're going to compete with them most of the time because they just don't have the same level of experience. So that's the problem with autofills, and people talk about this a lot in that sometimes it's whichever team has more autofills is going to be much more likely to win the game. And that's just how it is. So I have said this, and I think other people would believe this too. I'd be willing to sit in a 5-minute queue time if it meant that I would get my position every time. If it meant that everyone on my team would get their position every time. As a support player, I do get my position almost every time. And that's one of the perks of being support, is it allows you to specialize even more. But, I would be willing to sit through it just so other people on my team don't get auto-filled. So, but Riot doesn't want to do that because for casual players who, are just playing the game and they don't care that much about ranking, or they don't understand the importance of autofill and things like that. And like I said, it doesn't matter as much in bronze and silver because people don't pay attention to team comps as much and people don't specialize as much. A lot of people are just playing random things they want to play. They don't want to enforce, 5-minute queue times on everybody like that to do it. So what they've done instead is this role select, or ranking by position, which we'll talk about. I've alluded to that like 5 times, but I'm just setting up for it, why that's such an important change. And it's because of this, because it cuts down on autofill. Another issue with, it's not necessarily autofill, but with people just picking off champions creates high variance as well. So, and this happens a lot in high plat and like Diamond 5. Someone might get to, Diamond 5 by just spamming all Draven, right? And I have 2 friends that basically did this. They spammed all Draven. They had like a 58% win rate on Draven with like 300 or 400 games. Then all of a sudden they get to Diamond 5 and they decide, you know what, I'm never going to be able to get to Masters, so I'm just going to play something else because I'm tired of playing Draven. I just want to have some fun. So, then this person, I'm not talking about anyone specifically now, but if they get up there playing their one champion, then all of a sudden they play other stuff, they're putting your team at a major disadvantage. Even though they weren't auto-filled, they are still deliberately, they're self-auto-filling. They are putting themselves on a champion they don't have experience on, just because they have ranked fatigue, they're tired of playing the same thing, they want to play something fresh, they don't want to play normals games, they don't want to make a smurf, and so they're just going to play Victor first time middle, even though they have played, 400 games as Vayne bottom, and they have a 58% win rate, they just all of a sudden decide, hey, you know what, I want to play Victor middle, he got a couple of changes on this patch, he looks fun, I saw some YouTuber doing a highlight reel with it, I just want to try it out. Then they play Victor middle, and they get absolutely annihilated because they're against this Azir one-trick that has 2,000 games. So that's the issue, is it's not just the high variance in gameplay sometimes. It's not just from autofill. It's from people electing to play something that they don't have a lot of experience on because they want it to be fun. But they don't want to do it in normals because they want the thrill of ranked. They want to have some kind of competitiveness to it. Right? And so I kind of feel for those people. It annoys me when they're on my team because, I don't get impatient like that. I'm fine with playing the same champion every game if it makes me competitive. Usually I switch stuff up. depending on what's going on in the meta and the composition and stuff like that. But I don't play something that I believe is going to give my team a lower chance to win just because it's fun or just because I want to do it. But I know that I'm in the minority there. I know that most people, want to play for fun. They want to play different stuff. And so that's a major issue that's very difficult to solve. So even the autofill protection would not solve this issue. So that might be why they're not doing longer queue times for autofill protection, because it doesn't solve the issue of people autofilling themselves by playing different champions. Okay? Another thing that's a problem with League is unrealistic expectations by many players. So they think that, if you're not Diamond or Challenger or something, you're trash. If you're Silver, you're really bad. You're horrible at the game. When in fact, Silver is average. Like, that's just your average Joe or your average Jane just playing League of Legends is going to be Silver. Right? And so people just have these unrealistic aspirations that they think they're way better than their team, and they deserve to climb much higher because Silver is for terrible players, and they think they're not a terrible player, and so they should be much higher. And so it creates this kind of atmosphere of kind of entitlement and resentment. And they're working on that to some extent. They're adding in some new tiers, which is going to help, which we'll talk about here in a second. And I think that kind of role select will help with that. Once people can take more responsibility for what's going on in games and for their own ranking, I think that'll help out. A couple other things, and this is for more casual players, limited incentives for casual players. They're working on that. So just adding more rewards, adding more stuff you can do other than ranked. They've added in the mission system. They haven't done a lot with it, honestly. It's kind of half-assed, but they're trying. They did the mission system. They're adding in rotating game modes. They're adding in more rewards. They added in the mastery system. They're adding in chromas. They're about to add in some voice packs. So they're adding in a lot of stuff that you can do even if you don't play ranked. So, they're trying. Now, do they do that as well as they could? Do they have as good of a system in place for casual people? Not as much. I mean, not as much as something like World of Warcraft, which has just a ton of stuff for casual people. But, at the same time, you don't want to make the game too casual, right? Because it is a serious competitive game. And this is something that a lot of games face, right? It's like, how do you appease the hardcore players and the casual players at the same time? So they are working on it with new rewards, and they are adding in some new incentives and rewards here, which we'll talk about in just a second, that will help out with that. And finally, kind of the terrible leveling system, and this makes it really hard to create alternate accounts without buying them. So that once again, if the big problem is, okay, well, I play, a lot of Darius top lane, and I got to Diamond 5 by playing only Darius top lane, but now all of a sudden I want to play Ryze middle. I'm faced with this choice. Well, I can level up through this awful system and try to create a Smurf so that I can get ranked play at a reasonable level because I can't play, Ryze at Diamond 5 right now. Or I can just say, whatever, hopefully I don't get demoted, I'm going to play Ryze in Diamond 5 just to get some good ranked practice in. So that's pretty bad from a ranked perspective, because that just puts, once again, a lot of people that are self-autofilling because they don't want to go through the terrible leveling system of having to spend 22 hours just power farming bots to level as fast as possible to level 30 so you can make a Smurf and try out different champions while also playing ranked. Or so you have a Smurf ready to go just in case you have to dodge because you got too many autofilled people on your team. Okay, so the core problems are autofill, specialization. If someone has a lot more experience on a champion than another person in a lane, then they're going to get destroyed most of the time. And I've said this a ton of times on the channel, but they actually mention something like that. They say a soccer player who's a goalie is not necessarily going to be a good striker, even though they are both good at soccer. And that's exactly what I say. I usually use a basketball analogy, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, thanks for the rank, or thanks for the sub. Ranked fatigue, like I've mentioned, it takes a lot of games to get up to Diamond for most people for the first time, or to even climb a significant amount. It doesn't even have to be Diamond. And people just get tired of playing the same group of champions, but that's what you have to do if you want to be able to specialize and be competitive at the top level. You have to specialize. So ranked fatigue is definitely a real thing for a lot of players. And then motivation is just like, once you reach a certain threshold, once you reach something that you're happy with, like you finally got to Gold 5, you get those end of the season rewards, why would you keep playing League, right? If you think you're not going to be great enough to get to Platinum and beyond, you know, maybe you just play it casually every now and then, but you're not really going to play it that much more. This is particularly true of Diamond 5 players, because a lot of Diamond 5 players recognize they're not going to get to Masters, and so they just get to Diamond 5 and just sit on it, because they're like, well, what's the point? Because I'm not going to get any higher, so I guess I'll just sit on this. Or troll around and play off picks and ruin games for the high plat people, or, you know, whatever. Not that I'm salty about that or anything. But, you know, motivation is a real thing for a lot of players. And so because there's only end of the season rewards, and a lot of people are very rewards oriented, I personally don't care about the rewards. It's like, it's okay. You get some skins, you get a board, whatever. I'm just playing it for the game because I like the game itself. I don't need external rewards. But I know that a lot of people do, and it helps them out with their motivation. So that's a core problem that needs to be addressed as well. Okay, so let's talk about these new changes here. So that's kind of the setup. That's the kind of the current state of the game, the cons, what some of the core problems are for ranks. So let's see if these changes address any of those. So yeah, the first thing that they talk about is clear feedback. So now whenever you do provisional games, it will tell you what your current rank is, or is projected to be once you complete those 10 games. So you win one game, whatever, it'll tell you that Silver 5 or something like that. And then as you win more games, then you see what your projected rank is going to be. Other people don't see it until you finish your placements, but, you know, their goal here is to try to make it clear so that people kind of know where they stand during those 10 games. I personally think this is going to make people more stressed out, because when they start it, they're going to see much lower rank than they wanted to. So if they ended up at Gold 5, their first, you know, if they lose their first placement game, then they're going to see like Bronze 3 and freak out. So I don't know. This is the one that's kind of iffy for me, this one change, but for casual players who just have to have feedback every single game about where they are, where they stand, it could be okay. Now, this is the big one. So what they're doing now, they've added position select, and then this is what they're recognizing. So, and what the thing that I said here is they have very clever rhetoric, and this is funny because this is good though. They have good writers and good thinkers on their staff, but you know the real problem here is autofill, and that it sucks when people get autofilled on your team. They don't know what they're doing. They feed 0 and 10, or they decide to play, you know, Azir first time middle. They feed 0 and 10, even though they have, you know, a 65% win rate on any middle. They just have to play Azir in your game. And so a lot of this is kind of like negative feelings, right, that happen when people get autofilled or self-autofill themselves. For some terrible wording there, but they put a positive spin on it here, but it's the same thing. It's going to solve the same issues. So this is what it says. We've seen a decrease in the variety of champions and positions players pick in ranked, especially compared to other queues. When we thought about why that was happening, we realized the system pushes players to specialize. No crap. I mean, this is obvious. In any profession, any field, anything that's competitive, specialists are always better than casuals. Always. Right? If you... maybe not always, like 100%, but like 99.9%, they're going to be better. You know, if you have a handyman that kind of dabbles in plumbing and, you know, dabbles in electric work and then dabbles a little bit in drywalling and stuff like that, he's not going to be able to cover the complex cases like someone who spent 20 years doing a very specific type of plumbing. Or, you know, also if you have like a general practitioner for medicine, whatever, just someone who's like your checkup doctor, like they're going to know a lot about different health systems and different kind of illnesses at a very basic level. But you don't want that person doing your brain surgery. You want the person who spent a lot of time, you know, 12 extra years of residency and medical training specifically on the brain and brain surgery. You want that person removing the tumor from your brain. You do not want your, you know, your general practitioner doctor to go do that stuff. So this is just common sense. If somebody specializes in something and gets a lot of experience on it, they're going to be a lot better than people who just dabble, who don't have as much experience, who don't have as much commitment. Right? Because in League, when you specialize, you know every situation. You're like, okay, I've played this matchup, Irelia versus Darius, or whatever. I've played this, you know, 50 different times. I know exactly my item power spike. I know his item power spike. I know when I can fight him. I know when I can all-in him. I know exactly how much damage these abilities are going to do from both of us. I know exactly which cooldowns of his I have to watch for. I know everything about this matchup, so I can play it. Whereas when you're playing a new champion, you're so focused on, like, what should I do with my own abilities? How should I use them? You're not thinking about the enemy as much. You're not thinking about their cooldowns. You're not thinking about, can I all-in this person or not? Because you don't know the damage thresholds. Like, you see numbers if you research it, but you're not going to actually know until you play it and get a feel for it, what it's like to be in those situations where you're fighting to the death level 6 when you both have this item and that item. So that's where experience comes in. So anyways, they say, when we thought about what was happening and realized Specialized right now, Ranked doesn't recognize players who master several positions. So once again, they're taking a positive spin here, right? So they're saying, all these people who are basically picking a champion for, you know, the first time in Ranked, we're not recognizing their great competitiveness, their great glory. In fact, if you've ever queued for another position or gotten auto-filled, you probably realize our matchmaking system treats the skill the same regardless of what you're playing. Yes, everybody notices that. It's just funny that they're saying, they're trying to, like, coax the ego of kind of the more casual player, right? Like, if you dabble, if you want to play 50 different champions all the time, we're not giving a shout out to you enough. So here we go. We're going to give you a shout out. Instead of saying, we're going to stop you from ruining the games of these other people that are all playing their Specialized champion, and you decided to break out Teemo Jungle in Diamond 5 Ranked. But that's good. That's smart. That's PR. It brings a smile to my face as someone who's a professor of rhetoric who teaches persuasive writing. This is genius. This is just hilarious, the way that they've worded and phrased this to keep this positive. When this is one of the most negative things in League is the autofill in the first timers in Ranked. So this is a masterpiece of rhetoric right here. Okay, so this means the worse you are at an off position, the more likely you are to find yourself in a really hard game. Yes. It's kind of like assuming a soccer player, okay, yeah, who's a talented striker or goalie would be also a good striker. Okay. Good soccer analogy too, because it's an international audience. Soccer's the most played international sport. Okay, so matchmaking should be as fair as possible. We want the system to reward going deep in one position, but we also want to recognize hardcore players who choose to master several positions. Once again, these are not hardcore people, but these are casual people who are just dabbling in different positions because they have ranked fatigue and they're bored and they want to try out different stuff, which is fine. I like trying out different stuff too, but I wouldn't call myself hardcore because I play 5 games on 50 different champions. I would just call that bored, or I would call that like attention deficit or something. I don't know, but anyways, it's fine. It's funny. Okay, so next season, this will be outfitted with positional matchmaking, which is a fancy way of saying we'll rank you based on your skill level. So if you are like a bot lane main, like it has right here, you'd have a rank for bot, you would have a rank for top, and you would also have a rank for jungle. So that way, you know, if you become a gold 5, you know, at support, and then you just decide, you know what, I played a lot of Janna to get here. I want to play something else. I want to have a little fun, but I still want to play some ranked. Let me try out jungle. Let me try out some jungle Ivern. Then if you haven't played any jungle Ivern games, then you might get ranked at silver 4. And so it's going to place you against lower ranked people because you're not as good at that position. And that's great. So then that way you can practice these other roles. You can have fun in a ranked competitive environment and not ruin the games of everyone else that you're playing with because you're not playing your specialty role, right? So now you don't have to feel bad about it. I feel guilty about it. I would never try to just play something other than support by choice in ranked most of the time because I want to win not only for myself but for my teammates. Like, I don't want to roll up and play something for the first time and ruin the experience of these 4 other people because I feed 0-7. It's terrible. So, you know, aside from just having fun and wanting to play different stuff, for people that kind of have a conscience and don't want to ruin the experience of other people, you know, this is great. So I think that this is really, really good. So you can specialize. You know, you can still play support every game if you want to, which I probably will, pretty close. But now if you get auto-filled involuntarily, so if you get your, you know, your off roll, or if you just auto-fill yourself and decide you want to play something different in ranked, then now you have a different ranking for that. So that's fresh. That's cool. Now you don't have to have your Smurf account, so you can play top lane ranked if you know, got to diamond on jungle. So I think this is awesome. So it protects against autofill a little bit, and it also protects against, allows you to play other stuff, helps protect against your own boredom, but also protects against the boredom of your allies. So you don't get that first timer Annie, Annie support in your game when you get autofilled to jungle, right? So I think this is great. Like I said, on 3 different fronts. It stops involuntary autofills from people. It allows you more flexibility with trying out different stuff while keeping the ranked experience fresh without torturing your teammates. And then it also allows other people who are playing funky stuff to play it at a much lower bracket. So it keeps them out of the high elo brackets. So now when you're playing something, as you move up in rank, you're going to be playing against more specialists more of the time. All the people that are trying stuff out for the first time or who get autofilled are going to be pushed down to lower ranks. And so you're going to have more competitive, high-quality games the higher up you go in ranked, because it's going to be more specialists over and over and over again. That is awesome. As someone who is a specialist, who really appreciates a fine game of League of Legends, who doesn't want games to be decided by the 0-15 first-time Teemo top lane, this is awesome. Really, really good decision. I mean, I hadn't even thought of this before, and like how good that would be. But as I was writing up this document and just thinking about it, like, this is really, really good because it fixes all 3 of those situations. The 5-minute queue timer to stop autofill would fix the autofill, but it wouldn't fix the voluntary autofill that people do to themselves because of ranked fatigue. And it would not stop other people from getting autofill or like voluntarily autofilling, playing their off role in your games. This fixes all 3 of those problems. So I think this is really, really good. I mean, this might be the best thing that if it goes through, this might be the best thing that's happened to League of Legends Ranked, maybe ever. Certainly since like positional queue. So will autofills still happen from people who are ranked highly in their position? Sure, but it's a lot less likely to happen. Then they're going to be competent in their position. Now, I'm not sure how matchmaking is going to handle this, though. There are ways you could potentially game this system, and they are aware of that. So, I always think, well, there's going to be those couple of dirtbags that try to game this system. So one thing that they thought about, which I hadn't thought about until they mentioned it, but was people who swap lanes. So you could duo with your buddy, and let's say that you are a Silver 5, you're a Silver 5 jungler, but you're a Gold 1 bot laner. You could queue up for jungle and have your buddy queue up for bot lane, get matched in a Silver 5 or whatever, and then role swap with your buddy after the matchmaking has already taken place, so that you are playing your really good position and you're just in a lower queue. Now, if you do that, though, you would only gain ranking with your jungle position. You would not gain ranking on your core AD carry position because that's not what you queued for. So it's not as abusive as you would think. Like, you can't work your way up to, diamond or something by doing this swap over and over again, because the ranking is going to affect, I think, what you queued for. So if you queued for, like I said, jungle, and you were Silver 5, even if you swap over to AD carry later on, the thing that you're actually really good at, you would still only gain the elo for jungler, I think. So there's potential for abuse, but they're aware of that, and they're looking into that. And there are some other ways that I'm sure people will find to abuse this, but I think they can police it. I think they can find something that works. I think conceptually, this is super good, because it's empowering hardcore players. And by empower, we mean push them down to lower elo so they're not in your game when they're experimenting with stuff they don't know how to play. That's what they mean by empowering hardcore players. And that is awesome. It will help a ton, especially with casual players who get that rank fatigue, who don't want to play the same thing the whole time, who don't want to specialize, who want to try different stuff. And I like to do that. Like, I was toying around with Camille and Fiora, I think, near the back half of last year, and I was doing it in normals. And it was fun. I liked it. But realistically, I'm bad on those champions because I don't play them a lot. So I think it would be really cool, and it would allow me to play ranked without hurting my ranking. Because that's one thing is people on the channel, when I take donation requests especially, for $10, I'll play any champion in any role that people want. Now, if people ask for a different role, then I can comfortably actually play that role. So if someone says, hey, I want to see how you play Fiora top. I can go play it, and I'm not going to get blown out of the water, and I can play it in ranked, which would be a lot of fun, because then it would be competitive. People just, for some reason, they just don't like normal games on the channel. They just don't think they matter, but I'm like, it wouldn't matter anyways, because I wouldn't play this on my core account. I would play it on a Smurf, which is basically a normal game anyways, but just rhetorically, people just want to see ranked. It's just, people just like it. So this will help out a lot when I, want to play off-roll, or when people, donate to have me play champions in different roles and things like that. This is super cool. So I really like it. Now, this is different. Overwatch had a system that used to be you would get like ranking based on your performance in the game. So they would try to measure it based on how much damage you did and how many assists you had and stuff like that. I do not like that system, because I think that would punish supports. I think there's almost no way that it wouldn't punish supports, or certain types of supports like Tom Kench that don't get really good stats. So I'm glad they haven't done something like that. But I do like this individual sort of placement, like getting ranked based on your own, how you perform individually on that role. I think this is genius. It's really, really good. They also added in here that competitive intent is a big deal, so we're rolling out new systems to help combat situations where players don't take games in off position seriously. So if you get, autofill to jungle, people just don't try very hard, or probably support is the most likely one, where when people get autofilled to support, they just play, Yasuo support or something. So they're doing bonuses, which are good. I like, anytime you're doing a system to encourage people, I like favoring bonuses over penalties, because I think people just respond better to positive reinforcement rather than negativity. So they're thinking about, if you get a secondary position or an autofill game, then you might get a bonus that would apply during your next primary position. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Now, that means you can't queue for it, I think. So if you're a support main and you just queue for top lane so that you could get a bonus next time you play support, I don't think it works that way. I think this only applies if you queue for support and you get top lane. You get something that's not the main role that you queued for, then the next time you play your main role, you would get some kind of bonus, potentially. It might be, if you win the game where you're autofilled, you get a little bonus on your next one. Like maybe you get an extra 3 LP or something like that. And I think that's a great idea. It encourages people to try to play hard, even if they're in their off role. So I think that's great. I don't think it would inflate the elo too much over time. Everybody's going to have that kind of bonus. So I think that would be cool. Just something small, even like 3 LP, I think would be really good. Now, one plan grants bonuses for winning secondary. Okay. We're also looking at new penalties to help ensure ranked play stays hardcore. Okay, I love this as well. I think they do an okay job of punishing people that do troll stuff in ranked, but they don't do enough. They should be a lot more hardcore. Now, the reason for this is they don't want to have like false positives where they punish people that didn't do anything wrong. So specifically, in normal games, if you just really want to play Quinn bot lane, AD carry, just to try it out, right? Maybe you saw on some website, Analytics or something, that Quinn has a really high win rate bot lane. So you want to try it out. And you get a pre-made, you get placed into a pre-made with 4 other people in your normal game, and they're all telling you don't play that champion. And you play it, and you try hard. You're giving it an honest effort the entire time, even though they're all flaming you for doing that. And, you're trying, even if you don't do well. Maybe you go 0-5, but you're honestly trying it in a normal game. And then you get 4 reports for that. Like, they want to make sure you don't get punished for that, for playing, kind of some different stuff. Now, I'm not going to go into that discussion. People always circle back to the Singe support case and things like that, where people play unusual stuff that teammates don't want them to play. But what I'm saying is Riot wants to be very careful about that. They don't want to say you could be punished for having a bad game, right, where you're trying harder. You could be punished for picking a champion that is not top of the meta right now, as long as your intent is to win, right? And so that's why they're putting this in bold, because this is a very philosophical idea. It's highly contested. What does competitive intent mean? But I do think they can do a better job of getting around the trolls, the people who just, buy all tiers or something when your team's behind, or even just the people who just like run in circles and just like don't die necessarily, but they don't AFK in the fountain, they don't type anything. It's like, how do you deal with that? Where people, now if people want to throw, they can be really insidious about it. They can just deliberately like not use their summoners in a team fight, or just deliberately like use the wrong spells or miss their skill shots or something like that. Like, there are ways to throw that would be undetectable by the system, but I think a lot of people aren't going to do that. They might, but I think that just having a more enforcement of people who are trying to throw the game would be nice. So it looks like they're moving towards that. So rewards for people who are doing it right, who get auto-filled, keep a good attitude, and try to win. Excellent. More enforcement for people who are trying not to win. I like that as well. Okay. Now, one big question that I was kind of thinking about is, would you still have an overall rank? So would you... I don't think the system will work if you have an overall rank, because I think it will be... there'll be too much gaming to it. People can just like, go down and play the top lane in a Silver 4 game and boost their overall ranking. Maybe your overall ranking would be like an average of all the roles, but then that would punish specialists. I don't think they're going to do an overall rank. They do say that for masters and challenger level people, that they will still keep overall rank, and they're not going to have it as ranked by position. The reason for that probably are queue times. It would just be too hard to give everybody, their position based on queue times, or to increase the integrity of the games, I think was something that they talked about. I don't know exactly, but for like master and challenger level people, honestly, they should be able to work it out amongst themselves. Like, they should be able to swap around. A lot of them all know each other and what they're good at. Like, they have tighter communication. I don't know. But yeah, I think there should be one ranking system for certainly Challenger and probably Master Tier 2. So that you can see who really is the best. Not who's the best support or who's the best top laner, but who's the best person on the ladder. So I think that's... I agree with them with that. Now, the other thing they're doing, they're adding in new tiers. So basically, and they haven't said exactly where they're going to place these, but they said that too many people in Bronze, Silver, and Diamond don't have enough incentive, and they don't have enough skill expression. So pretty much, I don't remember where they talked about that. Oh, here's the divisions. 2 new tiers. Additionally, these tiers will help achieve things. First, they'll smooth out bad experiences in Bronze, Silver, and Diamond. Bring differentiation for Diamond players, which is something that's been a problem. I mean, now Diamond players are like the top 1% or something of players, but basically what this means is like Diamond 5 is very, very different from Diamond 1. And Diamond 5 is kind of like its own elo hell, because for a lot of the reasons I described, where people just play stuff that they don't know how to play because they just think they've beaten the game and they give up because they don't think they're ever going to get to Masters. There's no reason in trying to be competitive, so they just play whatever they want. That's kind of what goes on in Diamond. And I suspect that goes on potentially in like Silver 5 and maybe even Gold 5 as well, where people don't think they're going to get much higher, and so they just play whatever. So I think they're going to add a tier between Bronze and Silver, which definitely makes sense, because right now it is Silver 5, I think, is average. So it doesn't... like that. It's like this really weird like bell curve of people. I guess not a bell curve, but it like exponentially goes higher with each rank, the percentage of people. So what I mean by that is, like, I think it's either Silver 4 or Silver 5 is average. Everybody below that is 50%. So you have one tier, like one ranking, Bronze, that encompasses half of the player base. Half of the people that play are Bronze. And then you've got, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Master, Challenge. You have all these other brackets, but half of the people are Bronze. So, that's a really big deal when you go from, like, Bronze 3 to Bronze 2. You're passing up, like, 15% of the people that play the game. So there's a huge gap in skill between someone who's like Bronze 5 and Bronze 1, or even like Bronze 1 and Silver 1. At least percentage-wise, you you're just moving up astronomically percentage-wise in terms of how many people you're surpassing. So adding in an extra layer there between bronze and silver, I think would be great. And so having, I don't know what you would call this, amber or something. I don't know what it would be, but adding in some mid-level tier where I think that's their intent, is where you have to go through that before you get into silver. And so that will become probably about the average. So if it's amber tier from bronze to amber to silver, I'm just saying amber. I don't know what they would call it in terms of a metal. Copper, maybe bronze, probably bronze copper now that I think about it, like bronze, copper, silver. Or like copper, bronze, silver, something. Or maybe they would make it bronze wood division and then they would go to bronze and silver. I don't know. But something like that, to where you're passing up like 25% of the people once you get out of bronze. And then once you get through copper or whatever it is, you would be passing an additional 25% of people or so. And then you've kind of earned your way up to that 50% mark in silver. So I don't know for sure how they would do it, but I think that would be good to add more differentiation and add more rewards. Because a lot of people get caught in bronze and they're just not going to be able to dedicate enough time, or they're just not going to have enough game knowledge or enough micro to get to silver. And so people can just give up after a while, after they rot in bronze for a while. And so now being able to say, well, I may not be able to get to silver, but at least I can get to copper. You know, I've passed up some people, so this is good. This is a good thing, right? And then adding something from Diamond that would probably cut off around like Diamond 3 to add a new division there. I don't know what that would be. Platinum, Diamond. I don't know what. I don't know what they would call it. But something in the middle there, so that, you know, people might think, well, I can't get to Master Tier, but maybe I can go from Diamond to Crystal Tier or something like that, right? So maybe I could go from Diamond to Crystal even if I can't go to Master. So I can try. I'm going to keep trying and just see if I can get at least a Crystal Tier. And I think overall that's a good strategy to do. And in exchange, they're doing 4 divisions per tier now. So it's only going to be Gold 4 through Gold 1. Plat 4 through Plat 1 overall, because they're adding in these new things. So they're making each individual tier smaller, but they're adding 2 extra tiers, which makes sense. So that just gives more differentiation. That just says, okay, I have these milestones, I have these things I can shoot for, and this is going to work. So overall, I think that's great. It gives more incentives to people, especially around those bottlenecks of like D5 and Silver 5. I think those are kind of the 2 biggest bottlenecks there, where you have all sorts of different skill levels of people. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all good. They're also changing the reward system. Like I said, I don't care too much about this, but I think that it's pretty cool that now your border is going to evolve as you play. So it's not just last season, which was always kind of weird to me. Why doesn't it show current season? So it's not just last season, but it's, when you rank up from gold to platinum, it actually changes your border from gold to platinum. If you D-rank, that's going to be feels bad because it's going to go down. But it's going to be current. It's going to show where you are currently, which is cool. So they're doing that, and then they're going to change, like, there's going to be 3 splits as well. There's going to be different awards at the end of each split to keep people playing year-round. Because right now, there's a lot of people that play near the very beginning of a split. Then after a few months, they'll say, okay, I reached a plateau. I'm not really going anywhere in ranked. I want to go try out this other game. And then, around October, November, they might say, all right, I'm coming back. I want to get these rewards. I want to try to get this ranking by the end of the season. And they'll just try to rush for the last 2 months. Well, now there's going to be little rewards throughout the entire season to keep people interested, engaged, and playing. They're not going to reset the ranking every single split. They're going to do it at the start of each season. But with each split, you might get little rewards. I don't know what they would be, like some kind of skin or some kind of border decoration or icon or just something. So they're going to make it more of an event that's sort of ongoing, fun, and engaging rather than just this one-time event at the very end. So I think overall that's really sweet too. And just adding in more rewards over time as you rank up and do different stuff. So I think that's awesome. The only thing that I was kind of like, I don't know about this, is the provisional rank where you see your rank after every game. I think that could give people even more anxiety because people just hyper-focus on placement games. They think wherever you get placed, that's where you're going to end the season, right? They're like, oh my God, I got placed in silver. I was gold last season. The world's falling apart, and it feels bad any way you cut it. And I think just reminding people of that every single game is going to cause even more stress. But ultimately, it's not going to matter. People are going to play. That's it. But I think the ranking by position is amazing. It's going to, cover a lot of these problems that I talked about. Most notably, people who are auto-filled and self-auto-filling. And I think that adding in more divisions is also going to give people a little bit more clarity and kind of temper these expectations as well. By giving them sort of new goals, new things they can reach for that are a little bit more realistic. And, a lot of this is going to combat the problem of ranked fatigue, autofill, specialization, and motivation. I think they're potentially tackling all of these with these changes. So I think this looks amazing. Once again, probably not coming out until the 2019 season, but I just wanted to bring you guys a little bit of insights into that because I know people are going to be asking about it. Overall, I think this is going to be one of the best things in the game. I think it's going to help bring a lot of people back to League potentially that may have left for other games. I think games like Fortnite will eventually kind of wane because they're not going to have these same kind of pros that League does. Most specifically, the dynamic meta, the competitiveness of the game, the diversity of win conditions, all of that stuff. So I think that's naturally going to kind of... There'll still be a community for it, but I think people get tired of that after a while. And then I think the ability to come back and, be able to play different champions without ruining your ranked game and have less people that are auto-filled, less people that are first-timers in your game when you're trying to play serious ranked and move up. I think this is going to improve the experience dramatically for people. So I think this is really, really good. All right, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.